I actually wanted to say I love your ability to be able to just talk for like almost endless amounts of time. Before we get started with any of this, I really wanted to. I've always admired that. I know you've probably got a lot of flack about that in the comment section, but I'm one of the people that always really enjoyed your ability to do that. So before we get started, I just wanted to point that out.
Cool, thanks,
But
man.
yeah. All right. So hello, everybody. This is Ryan over at High Carbon Generator. Today I have Dan the Man, Dan McDonald, DTM, Life Regenerator, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the reasons that I went raw vegan years ago. Him and Arnold, I kind of watched them together, and I was looking up raw vegan at the time because YouTube was kind of like a new to me, and I was watching this David Wolf guy, and honestly, I really didn't trust him. But your little picture was up on the right corner as like the next video, and I'm like, I don't know. There's something about this guy. He's out in an RV. He's got this long hair, like a beard on, and I'm like, he just seems like somebody that I want to watch. And that's kind of how it got started. So now you're on my channel today, so that's kind of crazy. But welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Ryan. How long ago was that?
That was 2011 or 10 or something like that, somewhere in there. I had actually done keto for about 10 years, and I was dying basically. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if you know who Arnold over at Arnold's Way is in Lansdale, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, of course.
I was coming off the train. I was 405 pounds at the time. I was coming off the train in Lansdale right by his little shop. And he's like, dude, you're fat. He's like, you need help. And I said, I know I'm fat. And I said, I know I need help. And that before that, I was like all about the meat and fat and everything like that. And I went into a shop, and that's kind of how I got started. But I wanted to find some other people, and it just so happened that you're like the first person that I found on YouTube. But that's, a short condensed version of my story. But yeah, that's how the whole thing got started.
Yeah, I know it's kind of crazy. I mean, I guess I dropped a bomb there, and it spread out pretty good, and a lot of people jumped on the health bandwagon. They it's gone out into all kinds of different trajectories for all different kinds of people in many different ways, and a lot of different experimentation and whatnot. But yeah, I think there was definitely, I kind of got people stoked on the health kick. I had already been like doing the live foods for 10 years at that point before I started the video. And I've learned a lot since then, for sure. But it was, I guess my ego is a little bummed about losing the channel, kind of, being an OG and then having a good thing. And now I just don't have any reach really at all. And so that's a little tough on the old ego there. But I'd imagine that, the universe has its reasons for doing that. They're definitely wanting to squash the light, and especially dudes like me that have, and then they track everything, of course, every comment you make, every thumbs up you put, and they, with all the AI, they're able to track everything. And then you are developing a social credit score. And at this point, someone like me is probably beyond, being able to compensate. I check all the boxes for what they don't want. Masculine man, healthy, not a huge fan of the pharmaceuticals. I'm like a let's make America great again kind of guy, instead of the opposite of just because you can see what's happening with the globalism. So anyways, I'm just kind of, a little beat up from that, and then a lot of other things going on in life and in my personal life and whatnot. But, it's kind of I'm reached sort of a neutral state. I mean, I could get up here and talk about rainbows and butterflies, and a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. But, life is a series of, neutral successes and failures, sort of guiding you back to the center, almost to like a state of emptiness. So you can become so intelligent that the intellect and the concepts that we all live by begin to lose true validity. And then the only thing you can really rely on is pure awareness.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, that is the constant. And the other stuff comes and goes, even with health. Now, there are some ways to promote health, but usually we're so focused on the food that we forget some of the other more important factors that are more underlying and a little bit more challenging with all these millions of years of human biology and evolution, and then just life itself, and then sort of transcending the duality, the push and the pulls in the universe, and then kind of coming back to the highest state of awareness, which is the non-dual state, you know. And then so all of that, the pushing and the pulling, is it's sort of pulling you into the highest state, and it's also, in certain things, are also kind of pushing you. And then you can either resist the pushing and push back and resist, and you can also deny the pulling of it to the higher levels of consciousness within you, pulling you into it as well. So depending on our the level and intensity with which we resist the flow of consciousness, that will be how much we, you know, either succeed, or actually that's not the best way to put it, whether you just, it just keeps on evolving. You know, it's, I don't even know what the point was to all that, but just sort of saying, like, it's becoming more real, the whole experience here. And I mean, I'm still a robot on the internet. I get to be a little bit more real on my Elite Video Club. We really talk about what's really real over there. But as far as like the internet, if you have a career and you have a job on the internet, you've got to, you know, you've got the AI, you got the big tech, and then you've got just humanity itself, you know, and your group. And you can be sort of forced into a little box. And then you get comfortable with that, you know, then you're comfortable, like, okay, you're like playing a role, and then you let the world kind of put you into that little role. And, you know, the food trip is what it is, for sure. That's a really important thing, actually. I don't mean to negate it. It's just that I think that so many of us have put too much emphasis on it, like I did for too long, and missed so many of the other spokes on the wheel, you know. So anyhow, that was that. There's that, the art of BS ripping out of me. It's a channeling. I should actually honor it a little bit more, but yeah, any questions that you have or whatever is great.
Yeah, our personality is very similar. You have no idea. I know they already keep me in a box because of some stuff that happened back in 2020. My channel will probably be massive had some of this stuff not happened. But I do, for people who might actually be new to you, who watch this video, how did you get started originally? You know, how did you become the person that was in an RV? I think it was like a nudist camp almost, or something like that, in Seattle. How did you get there?
I like telling this story because it's kind of cool, man. Like, I left home when I was 16. My dad punched me for the last time in the stomach, knocked the wind out of me, and then threw me outside in a towel in the snow. And then my stepmom forced him to let me back in. And then I just walked up to him and I said, bro, if you ever hit me again, I'm gonna knock you the fuck out. And he knew that I was serious because I was finally big enough to probably be able to do it at 16 years old.
Yeah.
You know. So then he kicked me out of the house. So then I went and I lived in a barn for a while. Smoked a lot of weed because I was on a hippie farm, and it was like, oh, a vegetable and horse farm. Okay. But actually what was really going on were the fields of weed, really good weed. But I slept in a barn, shoveled horse poop, grew vegetables, and smoked weed. And that lasted for a while. Took a lot of mushrooms and LSD. Had some really good trips, actually. Some stories that I'll never forget. Yeah, spent the night talking to a raccoon once. Anyhow, that was a cool story. That's very etched into my mind because it was so real. I was really sitting there talking to a raccoon, okay? But I'm pretty sure that it was just really, really good LSD. So I don't recommend drugs. I never really did, but you know, people go through that phase, and I was born around a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
My dad was a major supplier for the rock concerts. Sorry, Dad. Hopefully he never sees this video. But anyways, he would fill the back of his El Camino with everything. And then he'd go to the rock concerts, and then anyways, so I was around that. The mom, the dad, so that was a regular thing. I asked for my first toke of weed when I was 4.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was a trip. And then I was, you know, selling it and rolling joints by the time I was 8, you know. So, yeah, a little bit strange, kind of a unique story. Yeah, stealing the weed out of the sock drawer, rolling it up on Bible papers, and then smoking it and selling it to my friends in the woods. So I got an early start on some of that stuff. Now, I don't mean to glamorize it, because if literally, I will say this right now, if I knew then what I know now, I would never touch a drop of alcohol. I would never take one mushroom. I would never take one cigarette. I would never take one hit of weed. I would never even eat processed food. Hell, I would say I wouldn't even eat cooked food, you know? But, you know, all I can do is what I can do now, is what I'm doing. So everyone you got to forgive yourself and move on. But, so I'm living in this, you know, barn. And then that didn't work out, you know, and I went and lived in a cabin in the, not a nice cabin, like a shack in the woods.
Abandoned, basically.
Basically an abandoned cedar shack with my buddy. And, you know, we were selling weed and stuff, you know, and mushrooms. And peeling bark also, you know, peeling cascara bark. Taking it in.
Oh, okay.
You know about that? You peel the bark, you make these big rolls, you schlep it out of the woods, you take it to the thing, you weigh it, and you get cash. And then they use it for laxatives and stuff.
Yep.
It's actually in the cleanse from Pyridine. So it's just so funny how that it's like full circle. Now I'm selling the cleanse, which is one of my favorite products from the Pyridine to help people clean themselves out. Yeah. And it's got the cascara bark, which back then I didn't think anything of it. But now they're using it in all different types of more stronger laxatives, but we put just a little tiny bit so that, you know, anyhow. Then my buddy, his girlfriend broke up with him, and because there was a picture of her on the wall, he burned the whole cabin down. So now I go and I'm wandering around for a long time. That was a very hazy part of my life. Then I met my girlfriend, and then I was in love with her, and then we finally moved into town together. And then I was working at the mill, because I worked in the wood industry, the cedar mills, and so I was, you know, doing all kinds of stuff with cedar, making blocks and pulling green chain, and I had a few different jobs. I was actually really sought after for some reason. I was just a good worker. I always I could always do more work than other people. Just always. I don't know why. I was just fast. I was strong, even though I was skinny. Anyhow, that's when I started with the meth at the cedar mill. Anyways, we took the little bumper, and then I became a meth addict, and then my girlfriend left me. I met with her 30 years later, just a few months ago, and she was a little reluctant, but on Facebook I said, yo, what's up, Jen? Because we would see each other about every 10 years, and it was just funky. Because she thought she had the same picture. Finally, all these years later, got a hold of her on the Facebook and said, hey, can I see you, you know? And then we got together and had a couple dates, and it was cool. And then she was like, okay, wow, you've really changed. I thought you were still that same old meth addict, and she's like, you've
Yeah.
really changed. Then I helped her with her health and everything else. But it's amazing how far you can come. But she left me for another dude. That broke my heart. I was afraid. I never got into another relationship for like 20 years, So, after that, started a band, played in the punk bands, the meth, the drinking, the drugs, the alcohol, the women. Got not famous in our band down in Aberdeen, but we were one of the best bands. And we sucked, but we didn't suck that bad,
Yeah.
I was the drummer. So things started to get a little bit better. And I started to kind of titrate off the meth. And then I had a few snapbacks over the years. I don't recommend meth at all. I'm still paying the price for that. But then again, you got to realize they give us the amphetamines when we're kids for the ADD, which is caused by the chemicals that they put into you. And then those chemicals go to your brain and they cause that immunoexcitotoxicity, which is the ADD. The colorants and the sugar doesn't help, and the additives in the processed food. But it's mostly the presence of those synthetic chemicals in the brain that causes the ADD and the inability to sit still. Then they give you drugs, which are amphetamines, which destroys creativity. And then you move out of the house and you don't ever feel normal until you take your first line of meth. Then you finally feel normal again because all those amphetamines that you took when you were a kid, they make your brain addicted to the dopamine to be able to function. So it was so obvious that now I understand why I became a meth addict, That lasted up until I was about 21. Finally, I did a DTM, and this has happened many times. I just gave all my crap away. I gave away my car. I gave away my bikes. I gave away the drums. I gave away everything and bought a van that had a bed in the back. Within 3 days, I said, I'm leaving this place. I got to get the hell out of here. I can't live here anymore. I can't do this anymore. I got in my van, gave all my crap away, and just drove to Seattle. And then just started living in the back of my van on the streets of Seattle. And then my buddy and I, who was one of my bandmates, he actually had a family that lived up there, and we kind of stole his dad's ladder and started washing windows.
Oh, wow.
And then I became a window cleaner, sort of. I mean, I really sucked in the beginning. It took me a few years to actually learn how to do it. And it was this old man that actually made me stay there, $40 to clean his windows. And he made me stay there until I got it right. And that took me all day long. He said, look at these streaks. This is unacceptable. Keep getting it. And I was like, God dang, this old guy's a dick. But I really realized that what he did for me that day was he forced me, like, I have to do a good job, before I get the people's money. Finally, I learned how to wash windows that day with that old man watching over my shoulder. And it sucked, but it was cool. I got that $40. So I started washing windows, but then I had so many parking tickets is what happened because I was living in my van, parking on the street. And I thought paying for parking was the stupidest thing I ever heard because I came from a small town where you just didn't do that.
Yeah.
So then I had like many, many hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of parking tickets, of which I've learned my lesson now, which was part of the maturing process, but they actually towed my van. So then they took my van and all my tools.
Oh, wow.
So now and I had no money. I'm making $40 a pop. So a little 10 or 20 sack, a couple of beers, and some Thai food, was my day, right? Or a couple of Jumbo Jacks or whatever from Jack in the Box. They towed my van. Then I was really out on the street with nothing. So I'm back to zero again. This time really, really zero. Like I had nothing, and they wouldn't let me even go to my van to get any clothes or anything until you give us, I think it was like $550 or something, which I just did not have that much money.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it to borrow it, so they got to keep my van. So that's when I was truly homeless at about the age of 22, I think. I moved to Seattle from Aberdeen when I was 21. And then I was out on the street. And that lasted a few years. So I'm wandering the streets on drugs. Not so much the meth. Mostly at that time I was on the alcohol and the weed was pretty much my daily thing. And weed was always my drug of choice, you know. Well, food, you know, is actually the ultimate, but it took me years to understand that one.
Yeah.
So anyways, there is a point to all this. So I'm wandering the streets now, up and down, homeless, you know, spare change.
Homeless Hill.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
the guys, they were like, "Oh, poor us," and everything, and I'm like sitting around. I was the life regenerator of the street back then. You know, we were sitting around, getting high, getting drunk, and everybody's like, "Oh, poor us, we're victims," blah blah blah. And I'm, listen, guys, and I said, "Look at this guy walking by, this lawyer guy or whatever he was, suit, watch, clothes." I said, "Look at that guy's face. He's got all that, and look at he's miserable. We're out here,
Yeah.
we're free." And they were like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right, Dan, you know."
Yeah.
And then that day, later on that day, when I walked away from that group, I was like, man, freedom is the number one thing for me. I'm never going to let it go. And I never have all these years. That's why my social media and stuff's a little weird. I'm a little weird. I never let go of my freedom. I never let social media, I never let business partners, I never let money, a woman, nothing ever take away my freedom to be. So I have a very unique life. I'm free, very free. Anyways, that's my, you know, that's I'm very grateful for that. I don't want to be anybody's slave, ever.
No.
I never will be.
No. Same here.
So I'm wandering up and down the streets, and one day I was high and drunk, and then I was trying to get out of the rain on Capitol Hill, and I walked into this spiritual bookstore, and I'm out of the rain, just waiting for the rain to pass. Never been in a spiritual bookstore in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around and just pretending to look around, but actually I'm just trying to stay out of the rain because it's pouring down in Seattle. And then this guy, he just looks at me and he goes, "Do you want to know the real truth?" And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And then he handed me this $1 pamphlet called The Essene Gospel of Peace. And it was only $1.
Yeah.
And so I said, wow, okay, I can afford that. You know, one less cheeseburger at Jack in the Box. But yeah, if this guy says whatever, you know, I bought the book. It was $1. Stuffed it in my little black rain jacket. And actually didn't read the book right away. Took it down to my parents' house and read it there. And then I was really just, when I read that book, I was just, the only thing I can say is I was visited by a light. That's all I can say. And I felt like really, really resonant with this book. And I hadn't really done any spiritual anything. I mean, I had Jesus at 4 years old on the Ernie and Bert puppet bus. The light of Jesus, that's when that came into my life. And then I looked back and I realized, okay, it was Jesus and the angels that kept my ass out of prison. Because there would be times when I'd have like all kinds of drugs and all kinds of, 2 cases of beer bottles in my passenger side floor, drunk out of my mind. So in other words, I got into enough trouble to go to prison for a little while, just enough to get the lesson, to get the probation, but never enough to really, I could have been really screwed a few times. Like I'd still be there and there'd be no rejuvenator guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as I look back, I had the angels of Jesus watching over me, giving me enough crap to make me who I am today, maybe relatable to a certain group of people, because not everyone's going to relate to this at all. They're this guy's nut job or whatever. But for the people that are like strung out and hopeless, there's actually hope. And then it just never ends. Then the spiritual evolution just never ends. But I read that book, it changed my life, and I said, I'm doing that. And I just went on a raw diet, straight away. Now I had my parents bought me a juicer when I was 19. So when I had a place to live, few and far between with roommates and stuff, I'd get that juicer out and I would use it. So I had already been juicing since I was 19. A lot of carrot juice, carrot, apple, ginger. You know, and then if I didn't have a place to live, I would either store my juicer with a friend or store it at my parents or whatever. So anyhow, I had already been juicing, you know, and the wheatgrass too as a bodybuilder. So I'm kind of like this. My story's a little weird. It's like I'm like a bodybuilding, homeless drug addict. And then I got another van eventually. I saved up and got another van, and then I would park at the YMCA, and I'd work out at the YMCA, and I'd clean their windows, and I started cleaning windows, and that's how I kind of got out of the poverty. I lived in a van for a long, long time, you know, and then I was living in a van when I met Krista, actually. But I started the raw food diet and the obsession with fasting and the meditation and the sexual continence. Now, did I master it from day one? No, not even close. I just became aware of living foods, fasting, sexual continence, and meditation all in one day with that skinny little book. That took me about, the other day I read it again after many years. I read it all the way through and it took me 3 hours. I'm gonna
so not much.
No, not much. It's a small little book. I'll show it to you. We're gonna do a study course on my, I carry this book with me everywhere I go. And to this day, I still work on mastering the principles. It's still $1, the Essene Gospel of Peace. And we're gonna do a study course on my Elite Video Club, and we're just gonna go through a 6-week course. We're gonna learn about my experiences with living foods, fasting, and sexual continence, you know, and the meditation, of course. This speaks less of the meditation, actually, but it became part. This book is particularly about living food, fasting first to heal yourself, then how to live afterwards to not get sick again. And then it talks about the power of the seed within, you know. So the seed gives life without, but the seed also gives life within. So, and I continue to study these things and do my best to master them. But what a journey it is going from, you know, what we've been through in this society and how dumbed down we've been. And then you read about all this stuff and you're like, yes, but then you've got quite a journey. I don't want to say a lifetime, but quite a journey into the purification process. And you think you're doing good, and then the great God shows you that there's more. And I should celebrate my successes more than I do, probably. But my personality trait is keep going. There's more, and kind of beat yourself up and criticize yourself, but which isn't that good to do. I'm trying to work on that, but just like there's more potential. You can do way better with your thoughts, with your diet, with your disciplines, with your mastery. And so to this very day, I'm working very, very hard on waking up and purifying myself on every level. And sometimes the more you intend for it, the more your crap comes up. There is kind of an inner battle. There's an outer battle of the light versus the dark. Then there's an inner battle. And so the outer battle begins to be less and less. You quit worrying about the world, the globalists, you know, it's like they're stupid. It's all so stupid that how could anyone, because in the end, you see they have no real power. Because you can still go get organic apples and make a lemon ginger blast, and go outside and get some exercise.
Yeah.
They'll tell you it's bad for you to go get exercise. They'll tell you the sun is bad,
Oh yeah, the
raw
sun.
food
Oh
is
my
bad.
gosh, the sun thing.
Right. All of it. Like, health is bad for you is the message,
I mean, have you seen the spike in skin cancer ever since the screen has come around? It's like 1,500%.
And
I never wore this stuff. I'm like, why would you put this stuff on your skin? Like, how stupid are you? Like, I never got into that whole thing.
well,
yeah, the sun.
I live
sun
here in
being-
Hawaii, and so I see it daily. Every day I see people doing that at the beach, spraying it on themselves, breathing it in, spraying it on their skin, white colored, thick, blocking their skin's ability to breathe in the most beautiful place on earth where the air is fresh, the sun is hitting you. It's a purification process, and they're blocking it. But that's what the devil has done on this planet to all of us. And now for us to rise up into our highest self, it's quite a journey. I'm actually, like, my energy's a little weird today because I'm like,
I could tell.
yeah, I mean,
I read energy. That's why I told you I don't write scripts for these videos or anything like that. I can read an energy, and yeah, so it is what it is.
well, I'm having going through a particularly challenging time this morning, and so that's what that is, but that's life.
It is.
I mean, I'm not like in abject suffering, but my heart is wanting to wake up, and it's been going through this gnarly process. And I'm my own worst enemy. And all the programs that I've been through and all the habits that I have to suppress what's trying to come up for all these years ever since this started.
Yeah.
It's wanting to purify my heart. And it's happening, but it's been, it's amazing how much shite is in there, how much junk. And especially if you had more of a harder traumatic type childhood, which I think I did. I'm trying to have compassion for myself, but abuse, lack of nurturing, there's no, so that's why I'm a little bit more like, there's a lot of people on the internet that are like really nice energy, grounded, a little more sane or whatever. And then there's us kind of wounded healers that are really working on finding peace in our hearts. It's saying all the right stuff is easy, but energy is real though. And you can't really fake it. So I could get up here but I can't be anything other than what I am. So if it's emanating, because I can feel my own heart. And I can fake it on the videos, and I try to do the videos when I'm in a good place. But this morning, I woke up and, I've been really hit hard this morning with this, what I'm going through, so that's what that is,
No big deal. Do you think that's residual? Do you think some of the stuff you actually make up and it isn't there? Do you think you make it harder on yourself? I've always wondered that.
There's
Some
energy
watching
there.
your videos sometimes.
There's energy there that wants to break loose. I mean, I've made an incredible amount of progress, to be honest. It's a lot less fear than there was. I mean, I have been really working on this, and I have been facing my fears, feeling my fears. Well, the fears, not my fears, just the fear. I've been just feeling it, surrendering it, and doing my best to feel it. But I have a lot of distractions too, and I stay busy. And I try to, that's what I'm really trying to do, is get to the core of truth. And so it's not a real happy-go-lucky, if you eat your vegetables, everything's going to work out perfectly for you. You can get on the internet, you know, when they're vegan, they're perfect and happy. Then they go carnivore and they say, when I was vegan, I was dying, and now that I'm carnivore, everything's wonderful. And then they go back to veganism and they say, when I was a vegan, it was terrible at first. Then I went carnivore and it was amazing. So whatever they're doing now, it's perfect, and what before wasn't working or whatever. But it's not really real, you know. It's like, what's really happening with human beings? What's really going on? And some people might not be able to relate. They're like, I had a good childhood. I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about. My feelings are always fine, or I'm either numb, or they've taken so many pharmaceutical drugs or eaten so much processed food that they don't have any sensitivity to their own heart chakra. And so healing the gut, healing the brain, healing the heart, easier said than done, man. To become a pure being where the divine energy flows through you, to be a superconductor of divine energy through the process of, you know, this track is fasting and living foods, and then all this other crap's been coming up too. So I'm going through a relationship thing right now, and it's just things that are way deeper than other people. They're like, just move on or whatever. It's like there's other things that are so much more advanced soul level happenings on the earth and the world. They don't not get it. And so it's like an Andrew Tate thing, like, or whatever, and like they can relate to that, which I appreciate. Andrew Tate, he's like, keep your balls, you know, like, yeah. I agree with that. But then there's other things that are going on that are more sensitive, the thought waves, the heart waves, and just trying to get this one purified, or whatever one is watching this. You may or may not be able to relate to the desire to reach states of inner peace, and then that's what makes you see the non-peace, you know. So yeah, I just you just woke up this morning and just been dealing with it. And then I just get up here anyways because I said yes to the interview. And that's why I don't do a lot of interviews, because especially lately, I just want to focus on this thing, and I don't want to be like, percent of sugar makes the medicine go down, because that's what the internet is these days.
Yeah.
It's like my career, and I'm going to tell you, it's wonderful. I'm a vegan. It's wonderful. I'm a carnivore. Everything's perfect or whatever. And it's like, well, are you human? No. We're going to leave that part aside. You know, so everything is airbrushed and filtered. And I just can't, you know, so. Because I can feel. It doesn't
matter to me either way. You know, honestly, my channel's not like that. But I do wonder, you go through all this, why did you start doing YouTube? Or were you in a better place then?
I was a lot less aware of energy and more ignorant of the matrix. And I made a video and I got some attention, the attention that I never got. So then I got addicted to it.
Oh, yeah.
And then Krista, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was a search engine optimization expert, and we were way ahead of the curve because we were going to all these seminars and stuff for the internet way back in 2007, 2008. We made a series of videos in 2007, put the cart before the horse, didn't have any audience.
Yeah.
Then we moved into we bought the RV, moved into the nudist park, and then I made a video, a few, like one a week, April 21st, 2009, got sober, April 14th, 2009, 1 week later, because I was at the river on my birthday, and I was drinking like a fish, and I just bought a huge bag of weed and a new pipe, and I was on a major bender at the river by myself, and I had these beers in the river, and I had the new bag of weed and the pipe fully loaded. Took a hit of weed, and I was just like, I was like, you know what, bro? Even if you're an alcoholic and a drug addict for the rest of your life, you got to stop hating yourself for it. And that was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, man. At that point, with that acceptance, I literally stood up, turned around, walked to my truck, got in the truck, drove away, and left all the beer and all the weed and the lighter and everything just sitting right there. And I got sober.
Wow.
And I have had a couple of drinks from the Dr. Morse's herbs. I've got drunk a couple times from the Dr. Morse's herbs.
Yeah.
And had a couple of relapses on weed. But other than that, I've been sober. I've done a little plant medicine, mushrooms a few times, and ayahuasca a few times, and buffo and combo. None of which I'm drawn to at all. I'm just like, go to the source, and go to the source. Just go to consciousness, go to God, So God is my drug now. God is my ayahuasca. God is my mushrooms. God is my weed, And so I'm in this chasm of switching over from all that, the sex, the drugs, the food, the senses, the fame, the likes, the dopamine, A world full of dopamine, all those habits that at some point they just make you sad. And it's sad because you're trading short-term pleasure for eternal and perennial joy. And that's all I'm saying is I'm in the middle of that, especially right now today, particularly transferring over from the rush of dopamine, because that's what the weed is, that's what the meth is, that's what the coke is, that's what the alcohol is, that's what the sex is, that's what the likes are, that's what the scrolling is. Dopamine, 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 dopamine. And we're just nickel and diming ourselves to death. And I pray to God to learn discipline, to learn denial. And the only thing I have left is food. And it's terrible. Just overeating. Salt, spices. Garlic, hot peppers, and salt. Okay, there now everyone knows. And that's what I use to avoid this lump that has gotten better, but I know I'm at the final, it's about to pop. I can feel it. Because I used to be able to fast for 40 days on water. And it still wouldn't come up. Now I fast for 3 to 5 days on water. It comes up. It's so intense that he falls back. He can't handle it. But I know what needs to be done. I do have the strength. I do have the knowledge. I have it within me to break through this thing that's in there. It's some kind of self-worth thing. You're not good enough. You're not lovable. It's some kind of mom and dad didn't love you. You're not worthy. Every relationship goes to shit because you're afraid. Afraid of commitment, afraid of intimacy, afraid of abandonment. Fear, 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 fear. And so so I fast for 3 to 5 days is what I've been. I used to be able to go way longer than that. I've done so much fasting, it's insane. But when I get to that thing, and I got to get it, man. And that's all I care about. That's why my career, I never cared about my career. I got high on it. I got sucked into it because Krista was like, hey, make a video every day and give it to me. I'm like, okay. So I'd get the little flip camera, push the red button, walk around. Hey, everybody, I got this new crazy blender drink, which I would never drink or eat any of that stuff now, because it's too complicated.
Yeah.
and all the
It
raw
is.
food.
It is. Yeah. It is. It really is.
I mean, dude, it's like watermelon. I mean, you get to a point where you're more refined, and your body doesn't even hardly need that much. And the longer you go on the sexual continence, the less food you need. And, you know, I went out into the wilderness and did a 10-day wilderness fast. I really dealt with a lot of crap there. That was intense. That was the most intense experience of my life. But I still had unbelievable energy. I was able to hike many, many miles barefoot in the forest with no food, only water from the stream. So I'd bathe in the stream, drink from the stream, and I was walking around naked. The conditions were ideal, but I didn't have any food, so I had to. God was like, "Hey, you got to leave," because it was a 10-mile hike, and if I would have kept going, I would have probably not made it out of there.
Oh, geez.
So I had to walk 10 miles with a fully loaded pack, and it took about a week for my legs to recover. But it's amazing how strong we can be with nothing. You know, I know that goes against like high carb regenerator, durian rider consciousness, but you know, we are way more than what we think we are. That is what I saw. And then I came back to society, and I've been kind of depressed ever since, because I got sucked back into the field when I was on such a high state, and I had all these revelations about what we are and what direction I want to go with this process of working towards becoming a spiritual superconductor to purify your body, your heart, your mind, and your spirit. And I'm working vigorously, as a matter of fact. And it's just pure awareness. So, anyways, I made the videos every day, and then it blew up.
Yeah, oh, it did. Yeah, for sure.
And I got to be that guy, and I knew a lot less then. Maybe I could, all this stuff was still there. It was just buried way deep. So now I get up here and I'm the heart on the sleeve kind of guy. And these interviews and stuff, this is the most open I think I've ever been, because I feel my own transparent heart energy. We probably could have been like, hey, let's talk about food or something. But I talk about what is going on in my experience, which is a form of narcissism, unfortunately, but it's also the only context that I've got. And all these gurus on the internet, it's probably not real. It's probably not real because they're probably not, you know, because everyone puts their best foot forward. But then everyone's like, oh, woe is me. I'm this lowly piece of crap. I can't even stop eating these cheeseburgers, and my relationship sucks, and I hate my job, and I'm 50 pounds overweight. And then they look up to the guy who's like, I have everything together. I eat vegetables, you know, because that's what your job is, you know. But then you want to be like, listen, I know what it's like to grind through this thing, man. Don't give up. That's my message. That's the only thing I can say. It's like, have you succeeded? Not really. And the reason is because the bar keeps getting higher and higher, because I keep getting more and more aware of the potential that's there. And I set the bar, this sets the bar very high. And this was the book that started it all for me. And I have never fully been able to fully and completely live up to this. Even though I did a 40-day fast, 28-day, 21-day, and been 99% live foods for 23 years. You're aiming for the top, which of course you're gonna lose a lot of people. Because not everybody wants that. Not everyone can see that. They're like, I want money, I want sex, I want fame, you know. And the reason why you want fame and the reason why you want money is because you want sex. But if you ever get wind of the fact that you think all those things are going to make you happy, and you get them all, because I've had the drugs, I've had the fame, I've had hundreds of women, okay? I'm not really proud of it, I'm not unproud of it, but it's like, you get to the point where it's like there's something more that you want, and you thought those things were it, then you had all those things. Okay, so just a B plus celebrity or whatever on YouTube, you know. But I would go everywhere, and people would recognize me every day, everywhere I went. Not so much here now anymore, but it's calmed down a lot. But there was a time there, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. You're that guy or whatever. Hey, Dan, they know me. I don't know them. It's weird,
Yeah, that has to be weird.
But not that weird, though. I treat everybody nice. I've never had a negative experience in real life. All the negativity always comes on the internet from all of the anonymous. Durian Ryder is an asshole to me on the internet, and he's nice to me in real life. So
I saw that, yeah.
That's the nature of things. I have nothing against any of that. That was a hard time in my life. He was a great teacher for me at that time. Probably could have handled it better, but I thought I did all right. But I never was that guy, because I've already had a hard enough life to where I'm not here to make anyone's life harder. I am here to only help, and that is it. Because I know how hard life can be for all of us, everyone, from every stage of life, all the way from the guy on the street with nothing, all the way to the billionaire who silently suffers at night and can't understand that he's got the whole world and he's still miserable. And all these millionaires too, same thing. They're the billionaire and the guy on the street right now are all dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with right now, today, intensely. For some of us, it's more or less conscious. For me, it's become very conscious, because the only drug I have left is food, which is basically salt, because the garlic and the hot peppers, I just don't even like that anymore. But those are the things that have been, so I went several weeks with no hot peppers or garlic, and then just a couple of days ago I had it. Because there's like these dressings that just aren't that good. Anyways, I'm being really open. I could lie and say I have it all together, but I use that for the dopamine so that I don't have to deal with this, because I can handle it in fits and starts. But as a matter of fact, I've decided already. It's interesting that we're doing this interview. I'm like, I don't give a fuck how intense this thing gets, even if it kills me. I'm where the Buddha's at right now. It's like, I'm gonna sit under this damn tree, and I'm either gonna get enlightened or I'm gonna die here. And that's where I'm at now, because everything's lost its flavor. Everything has lost its meaning, because the outer world is a reflection of my inner world, and this thing has just been there. And it's a block to the receiving of love, and it's a block to giving love. I've been talking about love all these years, and I mean it with all my heart that I have access to. But we talk about that which we want to work on. We talk about that which we want to bring into our life. And love has always been my thing, and I truly believe in it. The love of God, the love of just love itself, which is very understanding, very compassionate, and so I guess I'm glad that I've had a challenging life, because I don't treat people like crap. I just don't. I treat everyone with respect. Animals, not as like this vegan thing, I'm trying to make a show out of it, but I just stop for the chicken. I hit a chicken the other day. It just came out of nowhere, flying across the road, boom, bump, right under my wheel. It was flying across the road, hit my bumper, then went under the tire.
Yeah.
And it was just, it sucked.
It sucks. Yeah, I was out riding about a month ago, and a squirrel ran under my back tire. I'm like, why? Like, I don't understand why. Like, why? Like, why did you do this? Like, it was on a tree, watching me, and then because I was just on a bike, and it passes right under my back tire. I'm like, why would you do that? And then I look back, and its head is blood is just everywhere, and it was dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand why that was the thought process there.
Why did the chicken fly across the road? But yeah, but I mean, so the point was that I just treat everyone well in my real life. I do better in real life than I am able to express it on video. I like real life. That's where it happens to me. And these videos and stuff, I mean, I'm just not into it as much as I was because
Yeah.
I see there's so much more of what it takes to heal our inner world. The food is more of a symptom of deeper stuff that takes a lot of courage and awareness to move through it. And it's, if you think, oh, I'm going to do it. But then the unconscious, the 90% below, iceberg below the water of your unconscious sabotaging mechanisms and belief systems about who you are and what your worth is. And there is a mechanism of ego survival that is extremely sophisticated. And it wants to keep that crap buried away. So it takes an incredible amount of endurance, consciousness, awareness, surrender, persistence. You get knocked back down, because you're knocking yourself back down because of your blueprint that is associated with your level of self-worth. So if we want, I did change my financial blueprint through repetition. Now I'm trying to change my emotional blueprint. And I've changed my brain a lot too. Like, things don't bother me as much. I have much more mind control to direct my thoughts where I want them to go. But now it's the final frontier, which is the big power source that activates everything else. So if the heart is really good, the digestion is really good. If the heart is really good, the thoughts are really good. You see, so and then there's this kind of this three-way system: gut, brain, axis, heart, and they're all three intertwined together. So we're trying to really surrender so that life force energy can move through us unimpeded. And if you're aware, you're going to feel the resistance in those areas that are impeded. Especially if you've been doing this as long as I have, and you've been looking at everything you eat, and you're sensitive, and you're self-aware, and it just keeps going and going. And this, I know this thing is gonna pop. I know it's gonna pop. I know I'm gonna get this. It just so happens that this video is very unique energy today, for sure. But I just can't hide it. And the way you hold space to allow what's just right there to come forward. So I don't know if this is going to help anyone or not. Sometimes I think it does. I did an interview with a lady. I don't do that many interviews anymore. It's terrible for my career. I just kind of I'm just like, I don't really want to do it because I'm just not, I might not say all the things you want me to say. But she did an interview with me, and it was the most unique thing. It was 2.5 hours, and then everybody loved it on my channel.
I have no idea if people are going to like this or not either. But
what would you like? Sorry to interrupt you, but what would you like? What were you thinking? What were you hoping for?
I don't, like I said, I don't plan these things at all. I don't want to have a direction and then it doesn't happen. I don't like to plan. We're kind of out there as each other. You just don't know that because you don't know me. But I think that we're here to help others, and I feel like that you have helped quite a bit of people, and I think that that's something that you should take into account. Does that ever register?
It does, but that's part of the resistance that I have. I mean, I tend to respond more to negativity than I do to all the positive. Thousands of people, tens of thousands, who knows? I mean, it's spread out. I mean, a lot of people change their lives from the Life Regenerator videos. I don't take a lot of credit. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't really want to have an ego about it or let it go to my head or be like, I used to be somebody. I don't want to be one of these dudes like, I used to be the Life Regenerator. I want to be better today, and whatever it is that I'm doing, and the past is the past. But but I've just become more real. Like, I know my job. I know what people want to hear. I know what to say. But at the same time, there are so many other things that need to be addressed for the wheel to be balanced, in our lives, and some of this deeper work isn't so much talked about on the internet. And if it is, it's displayed by some girl with her boobs in your face or whatever, talking about how spiritual she is and how much she's done the work and all this stuff. And it's like, you're kind of like, I don't know, man, this is weird.
Yeah, it is.
The sex does sell. I never took my shirt off for the sex. I took the shirt off because it's fucking hot. Excuse my language, And it was just hot. It was the summertime. And then everyone said, take it off. And that kind of became like it was the wife beater and the no shirt kind of became my little signature,
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's something. I think that my best days are actually out ahead of me because I'm really learning about relationships. I'm learning about sexual continence, meditation, purification, and the real true healing of, I don't get sick. I don't physically get sick because I've spent so much time on this thing. I know what to do. I've got the juicing, I've got the enzymes, I've got the sunlight, I've got the colonics, I've got the massage, I've got the yoga. I just don't get sick. In the manifestation of the physical body. But now there's this new level, and it really wants to burst open. And it's just been one of the most challenging experiences in my life because it's the pressure cooker of emotions that I've buried, and all my clients have it. I talk every day on the phone to people, doing consultations, and we all have it. Some of us are more aware of it than others, and it depends on how high you've set your standards for yourself. And I'm like top of the mountain kind of dude. I won't accept anything less than the absolute best. And so there's going to be friction that's going to manifest. But if you just level off, if you just go to the intellect and you intellectually explain the benefits of raw foods, you're going to have a great group of people. But you're not going to be able to really help them come off of the drugs, which food is that, the pharmaceuticals are that, the recreationals are that. You're not going to be able to help them understand the addiction to the dopamine by our society, which then robs us of joy. And I told Ted Carr in an interview maybe a year ago or something, I said, pleasure is no substitute for joy. In our society, we've done that. And everyone has a different level of dopaminergic response, And when you've been through all the stuff I've been through, you are just eking it out. It's like it's a depressed type of brain. I hate to admit it. And I know everyone will say that's because you're deficient in bacon or whatever. But that's not what it is. I'm actually way better than I've ever been right now. But we have our brains, to regenerate our brains. I'll tell you what though, after I did the 40-day fast, my brain was regenerated big time. But I didn't get to the original trauma. I started getting to it. And it was time to break the fast. And I was almost to it. And I've been trying to get back there ever since, to this thing that I've been cultivating, bring it up, meditation, continence, awareness, and trying to get off the food and just like drink juice and just like juice fast all the time and get just sensitive and aware so this thing just pops, you know, and that's what I'm working on, you know.
I do have some questions from a little bit back in the day. So actually, one of the guys that I watched that you worked with was this big trucker guy. I think it was like 400 or 500 pounds. Whatever happened to him? Like, you know, he had a channel. I think that kind of disappeared. Do you know what? Because he lost like what 200 pounds in a year, I believe it was, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know whatever happened to him?
Yeah. He gained it all back.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Dave.
I was not expecting that.
No. Dave went through some of the most horrific shit a human being ever could. And, yeah. That's all I can say about that. He did a good job, and I understand, man. I wish I could cut my heart out and give it to him. But yeah, Dave, the raw trucker, went through some of the craziest shit you wouldn't even believe it. And I can't say anything because that'd be disrespectful. But he gained all the weight back, and I understand. And I understand people. I understand obesity. I understand it's the trauma. We get to it, and that's why I have to do this.
I was not expecting that.
We get to the trauma, and we're like, nope. And I've seen it time and time and time and time again in my family, in my friends, in my clients. You cannot give up. You have got to face your deepest pain, or you're going to end up back on drugs, back on the food, back in the stupid relationships, looping on whatever it is that your heart is most inclined. And when it's real, it's not easy. When it's real, it ain't easy. The internet, that's easy. You just tell everyone what they want to hear. You put a filter on it. You show your tits. It's wonderful. Everything's perfect all the time. And then every once in a while, a real human being comes along and gets on camera and says, this shit is not easy. And you should never give up on yourself. And that's what happened to my dude, man. And I'm bummed, man. But I totally 1000% understand. And if there's anything I could do, I would do it. But in the end, it's up to us. And you might say, oh, well, you're skinny, so it's easy for you. Being skinny is just as hard as being fat. Because what do you think I heard all my life? Bag of bones, bird chest, toothpick man. What do I still hear? Dan McDonald is deficient in pork buttholes and chicken feet. You know? Or whatever, he's depleted. It's like, I'm thin. If I ate pork dicks and chicken assholes, I'd still be skinny. And you have to accept yourself. And I'd rather be skinny because I am a yogi, okay? I am a man for God. I am a man of Christ. Does that mean I believe in spreading the blood all over the place and cramming Jesus down everyone's throat? No. I've been sitting right there having a relationship with Jesus and never saying a damn word about it to anybody because I don't need to try to convince myself. And same thing with the diet, same thing with the politics, same thing with all of it. They're cramming it down your throat because they don't believe it themselves, and it is a agenda. And the only agenda I have is to get this one right. And if I make these damn videos and somebody's crazy enough somewhere to actually sense what's happening here, to have the courage to get up here and do this, because I really rather would have not. And that's why I don't even really like to do the interviews, because I'm a real person. I have good days and I have bad days. This isn't a really bad day. I just woke up this morning with this thing and it's about to pop, and it wants to pop. And I know how hard this is, and I know how fake the internet is.
It is.
And I want to be real. At least with myself. I want to be honest with myself, you know. But I have respect for the fact that it is, you know, a 10% of the population, it's their job. They're probably 10% content creators and 90% consumers of the boobs and the food meals and the little reels and the goldfish attention span. You know, and I don't know if hopefully I'm not coming off as angry. If I'm frustrated, it's just with my own self. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming big tech. It's their platform. It is their suppression of free speech. It is their agenda, their propaganda. You know, and our job is just to sort of somehow slip through the cracks and remind people that you're still a human being and you can avoid the negativity of the world and you can find, you know, paradise on earth. Like I'm having a little bit of a rough day, but my life is dope. Why? Because I get to have bare feet. I went for a walk this morning. I did the loop. I went for a walk. What more do I want? Nothing really. Just to get this thing, just to do my work so that I can be the best I can be in real life as an energy frequency. Not as a person who can say all the right words, but as a person who emanates the embodiment of the best that he can be, you know, and that's it in this life.
I will ask you this. Everybody at the time was high carb, you know, or even adding sugar into things, which I've actually had good luck with. But
adding sugar,
you completely, yeah, sugar. I filled myself quite a bit with cane sugar, not like white sugar.
So dehydrated cane juice.
Basically, yeah.
Definitely a lot better. There's some minerals in that.
Yeah. No, I can't. If I do the regular white sugar, I get stomach upset. I can't do it. I get really inflamed. But like just evaporated, just straight up raw sugar. But anyway, that's not the question. Why did you go so kind of opposite of that? What did you find in you did more of the fat end of things? Why did that happen that way? Or was that something that you just kind of came across?
Well, I was pretty hardcore Dr. Morse enthusiast, and Arnold Ehret, and Hilton Hotima, and fruit is still my number one food. Don't get me wrong. You know, I just did a mukbang yesterday with 3 pineapples, you know, right out here.
Okay.
So I love carbs, for sure, but carb after carb after carb after carb for too long. See, then Lou Corona came in and showed me the coconut almond yogurt and showed me a little bit more, lower sugar, some proteins and some fats with the coconut yogurt. And then I put on like 15 pounds after using the coconut almond yogurt. And that was, so Dr. Morse was the fruit and Arnold Ehret, but that was so many years of that, I was depleted. Lou came in, brought in the protein. I just felt better, you know? I just felt more grounded, and I also gained some muscle, you know? And then Tavis came in, and he came to
I was going to ask about Tavis.
He did the detox with me, and he said, you're just deficient in fat, because Tavis loves the fat. Lou loves the protein, Dr. Morse loves the fruit, and Tavis loves the fat. And between those 3, I got to appreciate, by spending time with all of them, I got to appreciate all 3 of the macronutrients. And then I really began to appreciate my own intuitive calling towards whatever it was that was needed in order to, you know, stay balanced within all the various traveling or whatever, being at home, stabilizing myself and trying to reach higher states and rebuilding my cartilage and whatnot. with the proteins and the amino acids, and then lubricating my brain with the fats, which I've found, especially for someone like me, that would do an incredible amount of drugs. Everyone else would do this much, I would do this much. And I would be awake for 3 days. So I fried my brain, and so bringing in the fats has really helped to nourish my brain, the neurons, the synapses, and to coat and cover and rebuild and saturate the neurons and the nervous system in my brain, you know. And so I have a real appreciation for all the living foods available to us in nature, depending on where you go. You know, I love almonds. And when I was on the fruit, the virility of the sexual organs diminishes, and you tend to be a little more floaty on the top. And when you bring in some nuts and seeds, you nourish the reproductive organs. That's true for men and women. And so a lot of the fruitarian stuff is a little effeminate for my liking, and I am a masculine man. Half the time I have a girlfriend, the other half I don't, you know, but either which way. So can I explain nutrition to you? No, because the more I learn, the more I question why the hell we even eat in the first place. When I was up on the mountain and I was so filled with vitality, even though I was detoxifying my heart, I felt incredible. I mean, you sleep better when you don't eat. It's just, I have more questions now than when I started. And I don't know if they'll ever be answered. And I know that everyone has all the answers. All I have is more questions, more curiosity. One thing I do know is that if you're overweight, or if you have a disease, or if your heart's not right, or your brain's not right, or you have schizophrenia, or you have depression, or you have anxiety, or you have a chronic disease, fasting is your medicine. Because I have seen the miracle of that over and over and over again. And that's what's got me to this point of sensitivity and awareness. And that's what helps me move a lot of this crap out of my head. Things that were stuck all throughout my body and my brain. The water fasting has been the single greatest miraculous tool that I have in my toolbox. And people will tell you the opposite. Eat and suppress. Eat and suppress. No. Stop eating and allow whatever's stuck in there. Your lack of awareness, your relationship's funky, you're walking around cohabitating or whatever, or you're at this job and you're like, why am I here? And you take a 10-day water fast and you're like, oh, I'm here because I'm afraid. And I hate this job. The more you get yourself cleaned up, the more you're going to become in contact with what's really going on inside of you. And fasting is the fast track. People knock it. It's a whole fad thing. Nothing really happens until missing a meal is good for you. I know that's the opposite of some of the things you probably learned in your experience, but missing a meal is great. And missing several meals is great, but it has to be a conscious and volitional process. Don't get me wrong, I know how to eat. But we all know how to eat. But what the world does not understand, and I may share this one day, I hope, they don't understand the pros and cons of eating. They only understand the pros of eating, that's it. I love this tastes good. But they don't understand the cons of it, the things that you lose when you're able to be a more proficient faster. And they also don't understand the pros and cons of fasting. The pros of eating are great, and the cons of eating are the cons of eating, especially too much, and especially of the wrong kind of thing. But the pros of fasting and the cons of fasting, which is like, okay, you're fasting, you're probably not going to go to the gym. You're fasting, you're just not going to go on a 20-mile bike ride, you know? But other things are going to happen. Other states of consciousness and awareness are going to happen as you take away food from the gastrointestinal tract. Other centers are going to wake up. The enzyme, a bank account that you have every day from your liver and your pancreas, are going to shoot up, way up. And people think that fasting is only a catabolic process. That's not entirely true. Fasting is a catabolic process in a macro sense, but it is a anabolic process in a microscopic sense, where all the debris is removed, the microscopic antagonists, and even nanoscopic these days with radiation and nanoscopic particles and everything, is removed out of the system. And so then the tissues become more refined. So in that sense, it's an anabolic process. So when you go to break the fast, your pancreas, your gallbladder, your liver, your kidneys, your thymus, your thyroid, your pineal, and your pituitary gland, after several days, at least 3, but 7 is the magic number. The 7th day is sanctified. But when you give those glands and organs a chance to rest, and you allow all of the digestive enzymes to be utilized for metabolic processes, then you actually have a catabolizing of the superfluous, and you have an anabolizing of the refinement of the tissues and the glands and the organs, so that when you go to break the fast, the food that you do eat is absorbed at a much higher level, utilized, assimilated, utilized, digested, and eliminated far more efficiently. So you need to eat less food to get the same amount. And I'll tell you this, the happiest and the healthiest I ever was about the 6 months after I broke that 40-day water fast. I was high. Every single person that I ran into said the same thing. Wow, you are exuding so much light. You are filled with so much light. Everywhere I went, every day, my eyes. That was after about 30 days into the refeed, 45 days. I'm putting on some weight. My eyes are bright. All my organs and glands are functioning optimally. I felt on top of the world. Then I got the weight back on. I started dating all these women, and that was the beginning of the downfall, was the women. And then I broke a year's worth of celibacy in the same day with 2 women. You know, it was a crazy time. And then the real woman came in and knocked all them out. And then we've been on this crazy ass twin flame journey since then, which is insane. But it'll wake your ass up to even a higher level of spirituality, potential, relationships, and force you to look at yourself. And I'm on the final phase of this thing. I know it. I can see what God's doing. And it's so intense that I know it's at the final stages. And so I'm trying to actually stop interviews, stop talking, and just, I have a yoga mat right here. I live in a little box. It's just a box. I live in a box. I got a pool. I got a little sink over there, a little kitchenette thing that I put together, a juicer. I don't really need anything. And I'm glad to be here. And I got kind of sucked back into the career, which is actually going pretty good, because I hired this really cool, smart young man with all the reels and crap. Everything I don't want to do, everything I can't do. I cannot.
Yeah.
I tried. Technology, and I know this thing. I know these. I know how to help people on the phone. I know they call me up, what should I eat? I'm like, let's find out what your real problem is. Because the food is a symptom of something going on deeper. And we got to get to that deeper stuff. And I'm never going to do anything else other than drive people back to the deeper and real stuff that they need to look at. And if they don't like me because of it, they want cookie cutter little raw vegan answers, I'm not going to be able to give it to them. Because I'm not that kind of person. I want people to get real results and do the real work and have the real courage and the real faith and the real trust with the real skills to really make a true difference in their inner world so that their outer world can improve. The outer world is a reflection of our inner world. We look outside, we blame everyone, we blame the dog, we blame our wife. But the thing is, if you change yourself, your wife will change. If you change the way you look at your wife, she will change instantaneously. That's what the world doesn't understand. They go 20, 30, 40 years arguing. When the dude needs to just say, okay, I forgive her. Maybe she doesn't understand. I can't expect her to see things my way. I'm going to let her off the hook. And then she's like, hey, honey, how you doing? Do you want to go for a walk? And you're like, whoa, that was easy. Whatever it is, we have to change our own inside. I'm really trying to change my inside. I ain't trying to fix the world. I ain't trying to tell anyone that they need to eat a certain way or be anyone's police or judge anyone. If there's anything I want to do, it's learn how to love myself and others. And that's not me sitting up here with a filter. I want to love everyone with rainbows and butterflies. I'm saying I want to, and I do pretty well. I'm very compassionate, understanding. I don't judge the homeless guy, and I don't judge the millionaire. Because everyone's judging, oh, this person and their thing, and he's got money and he's a dick and they're selfish, and none of that's true at all. None of the diet stuff is real, none of the money stuff is real. People are people, and we're all from the same source. And everybody is struggling with something. It doesn't matter how evolved you get, as long as you're here in a human body, you stub your toe, it's gonna hurt. And we're all struggling with something. And I think the world could use a lot more love and understanding. And that's my say, you do it, dude. You don't need to try to fix anybody else. You do it, you be it, you embody it. That's what needs to happen. That's why being the rejuvenator guy on the YouTube, it's cool, I guess, but, you know, I just want to be it. And then whatever comes out of that. So I managed to stay real in this, through this whole thing.
Yeah.
I got lost. I did. The whole sexiest raw food guy and all that. But I'm coming back to a realness. And I think the world is craving that. You know? I don't know.
I actually think that might be a good place to just call it.
Cool.
I think that's about it. I do actually want to thank you though for everything that you did. You were the most influential to me through the whole journey. Now I'm not still raw. I got to a point kind of where you're at, and I just didn't feel like dealing with it. So I added, potatoes and stuff back in. But
good stuff, man.
I want to thank you. I hope you keep going in some capacity, because I feel like your just ability to just talk, I think has helped quite a few people. And I just, I'm just glad that we did this.
Well, we'll see how it goes, because normally everyone kind of sticks to the script. And today we did not stick to the script.
I didn't have one.
No, what I mean is like, hey, everyone, broccoli has fiber and your colon and, sugar and macronutrients and all that. And I know that I'm expected to be that. I mean, living food or eating clean or just whole foods or, my thing is like, listen, try to stop killing yourself with processed food. But we're talking about 98% of the population goes and buys a bag of chips. I don't even know what that's like. That's not a brag. I made a rule, 25 years ago or something. Like, I'm eating whole food. And I just, aside from like the 24 Reese's peanut butter cups like 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that.
Of course, everybody snaps.
Yeah.
But other people are, whatever. And then when you have like what I've had, you snap even more. You just like a lot of the people like Tavis and Lou, some other people, they were never crackheads. You know what I mean? So I'm the guy that's like, here, everybody. It's like, there's this guy's a little frizzle-frazzled, but, okay, if he can do it, maybe they can relate to me. I'm like, listen, like, if you're going from being a total drug addict to being like, listen, man, sobriety is where it's at. Deal with your stuff. It's hard as hell sometimes, but just stay with your goals, stay with your vision. Don't give up. And so I'm sort of trying to teach sobriety in all the aspects of life: sexual sobriety and consciousness, food sobriety and consciousness, financial sobriety, because some people they go spend money. They go to Walmart and it's their drug. Spending money is their drug, money they don't even have. Yada yada yada, for trying to find a way to find joy instead of us being, and we were just duped by the corporations that, you know, profit off of our excessive addiction to pleasure and dopamine. And so we're trying to break free so we can find peace. And I am right in the battle with everyone else. And I just, if I have to be an open book and wear my heart on my sleeve, and I come across as, because some people really love it when you come across as, hi everyone, I have this diet, I'm perfect, everything is magnificent, it's wonderful, look at my boobs, blah blah blah. And it's just you know, I don't know, man. You know, I think the women that I really like are the ones that keep it covered and really use their brain and their heart. You know, those are the ones I like. You know, because I have to avoid the boobs, you know, and the butts in order to stay focused on, because you know that just triggers. So the social media, you gotta, even though it's your job, you gotta stay off of it as much as you can because of all the influences, and you don't want your mind to be influenced by that. You're trying to find purity, you know. So it's been an honor, bro. I actually have, you know, seen you over the years off and on. I don't know you that well, but
No.
you seem to be doing very well, and I appreciate you, you know, making the space for this. I just said yes, so I just said yes, and I hope that your audience is stoked.
We'll see. It'll probably bring in a new audience, but will they like what I do? I have no idea. I don't know. I saw your something on Instagram and I reacted to it. It wasn't even like me thinking. I just typed and then you happened to respond. So, and here it is.
Yeah, the reels are really bringing a lot of activity, interestingly, and I'm trying to slow it all down. So,
yeah,
the ironicness of it all. But yeah, well, thank you very much. You know, it kind of helps me in a weird way to do this. And I hope that it helped. I have the video going here. I hope that it helped somebody.
It has to. It has to. I mean, I don't have your lifestyle. I don't have, but it has to help somebody, you know, that is in that.
What's your lifestyle? A little bit of cooked food or the no fap? Or?
Yeah. No fap. I really don't pay attention to that much. I mean, I have a weird situation. One of my exes needed help. And so she's living with me, so that throws that off. But yeah, I do cook food, but I eat mostly raw. I mean, I've got, you know, probably 80 pounds of bananas up there. I got a bunch of. Bought like 11 watermelon the other day.
Well, you look great, bro. You look great.
Yeah, but the thing is I fluctuate between, you know, like 260 and 280. It's not probably where I want to be. But it's certainly better than 405. But, you know, I did get down to 220 and my mental state was taking a hit. And I'm like, man, I'm not functioning at all. So I kind of just added back in like potatoes and rice. I have a lot of Asian friends and I'm like, how are you guys so functional? And you eat, you know, all this rice and everything. And they laughed at me for eating raw. They thought it was nuts. They're like, why would you eat raw? And, you know, they run circles around everybody and, you know, everything. So I just, I kind of added some of that stuff back in, but I don't eat a lot of end of the package stuff. maybe once a year, but not a lot of the packaged stuff. I actually don't have a lot of fat, but I did add a little bit back in because my digestion, I notice, is terrible if it's not there. And yeah, and then recently I remember Tavis Bradley talking about salt back in the day, putting a little crystal of salt in a mason jar of water. And I started doing that again because I remember, because I drink like 4 gallons of water a day. I'm like, how am I still dehydrated? It drives me nuts, even when I was raw. And so I started doing that, and I've noticed the hydration has gone way up again.
Yeah, that's my area of expertise is hydration, and the water doesn't hydrate. H2O. You need the H3O, which is in the fruits and vegetables. And that's why I love the juicing and the massive saturation when you're dealing with weight loss, chronic pain, inflammation. The saturation of those mono juices like cucumber, watermelon, apple, grape, coconut water is an amazing hydrator because it allows for that higher level of cell permeability. So your goal is, you still have the weight loss goals, and then what happened? You got down to 220, and
I got to 3 times now. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. 3 times now, and I won't change my diet, and I'll just all of a sudden gain. And then I noticed that like I kind of got like my cortisol just goes through the roof, and I kind of start having like mental issues. Kind of, I wouldn't call what you have mental issue, but like I have what you go through, and then that's when I start heading in the sugar because I talked to Durian Rider about it, and it'll just come way down. It's like, it's great, and I can actually sleep for once, because when I go into that, I can't sleep. Like, I will not sleep for days on end, and I can't handle it. And that's actually what happened to me years ago, 2011 through 2014 or 15, somewhere in that range. I was fully raw. Like, I would add in once in a while, like roasted nuts or something into my salad, but I mean, like fully raw. But my sleep got so bad, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I can't take this not sleeping at all anymore. And I went to Arnold. I'm like, what do you think I should do? And he told me that maybe adding potatoes in might help, and it did. I mean, I was out like a light.
And so basically this whole video could have been directed at you, because as you get down and get more clear, as you get clearer, that's when the trouble arises.
Yeah.
And so, my brother, what is it that's in there that you have to avoid to be able to sleep? Because I know this. When we are really, when it's coming up, the cortisol shoots up, and then we can't sleep.
It's terrible.
But if we can move through that, I think we're all basically dealing with the same damn thing, and it's fear. And everyone has their method of suppressing fear, and that is the cure. But then you put the weight back on, and so as you get clearer, as you get on, because the raw foods is a type of fasting where the nerves are not as you're suppressing the vital force. God is pure. The life energy is pure. And it's, if you allow the life energy, or the divine intelligence, I call it, which came to me through fasting, and in opposition to the artificial intelligence, I call it the OI, the original intelligence, or the divine intelligence. It's
Akashic record.
What's that?
Akashic record, almost.
Similar, but it's even in a more pure state. In the Akashic record energy field, there's actual data.
Yeah.
Within the pure source energy, the divine intelligence, there's no data. It's just pure beingness. And so it's purity and wholeness, and it's complete and full. And within 1, cubic centimeter is enough, energy to create a whole nother universe. I mean, it's pure divine potential. That's like why Jesus can walk on water or come back to life, you know, because he's purified the energy that much. And so as you are cleansing and purifying, those things start to come up, the original traumas that we bury with potatoes. And believe me, I've had sleepless nights and I've used potatoes. Now, is the potato some kind of medicine, or is it a suppressant of the vital force pushing through, bringing all this stuff up? And you don't have to agree with me, but just as a potential philosophy, as you're losing weight, as you're getting clearer, you're getting to this place where there's something that needs to be addressed and it wants to come up, but then the resistance to it and the fear of it is what can create the anxiety and or the cortisol.
Oh, I know what it is. I'm well aware of what it is. I've never been able to accept the overweightness and some other things that have been in my life with dating. Yeah, I know exactly what it is. I always thought that you needed to be skinny to date. And so I never really went after, even though I didn't have an issue. Like, I always had women after me, and I've actually never asked anybody out. I've always been pursued. But I always thought that I wasn't good enough because I was overweight. And so that's the issue. I know what the issue is. I almost don't even have a fear towards it. I think I've gotten to the point where I want to just accept the fact that I just naturally run big. Like, I was a huge lifter. I know you talked about a bodybuilder or like lifting and everything like that. There is very few people that could lift as much as I could. Like, I was just a big dude. I couldn't run faster than anybody else unless it was like a 100-yard dash. I can outbike anybody and I can outlift almost anybody. And so, but it was never good enough. And so it's to the point where I wanted to actually get to probably, I think this is what it is. I think I wanted to get back to this weight just to be able to accept who I am. And then if the weight comes off, the weight comes off.
So then it sounds like there might be like a deeper issue going on with self-love and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And so you're overweight, I'm underweight, and guess what? We both have the same problem.
Yeah.
Self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance. And anybody else who has even an iota of awareness is probably going, yeah, I can relate to that. Because unless you're absolutely perfectly enlightened, then you may have some residuals of those. Because our society, our parents, it's like one dysfunctional ball of poop rolling down the hill, you know. And so so you may want to look at that, like your self-worth, your self-love, like loving yourself. And then that's the main issue that comes up through your childhood and those first initial experiences, all the way from like, well, it starts when the seed hits the egg with your genetic potential. Then in gestation, your mother's vibrations, her diet, her thoughts, her biological rhythms of anxiety, cortisol, or I'm overweight or I'm not worthy, that begins to develop in the brain of the fetus. So that's why I say like 90% of it is down below the surface of the iceberg under the water, and then at the top we're like, I am healthy, I am happy, I am healthy, I am happy, I am healthy, I am happy. But the 90% of the iceberg says you're a fat, worthless piece of shit. And so I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy, and then you just go insane. And so what you're trying to actually do is simply become aware of the iceberg below the water and what the real programs are, so that you can allow those, then the iceberg kind of, more of that comes up to the surface. And you see it and you're like, oh wow, I have a real issue with self-love and self-worth. And I'm trying all these new makeups and I'm trying all these diet programs and I'm trying all these mantras and breathing and hoses in every hole in my body and butthole sunning and everything else. that you're trying to do to paint over the rust. And what I'm simply saying is we need to take the car into the shop, sandblast that bitch from top to bottom, clean it out, get rid of all the waste, all the rust, all the debris, spackle it. And those are the cleansing, healing, regenerative processes that have made me a little bit obsessed and a little bit of a nut and maybe on the fringe. But I got to get to the bottom of this for myself. And what I'm seeing is that you have stuff that you want to work on. Not that being a little bit bigger is a problem or being a little bit thinner is a problem. The problem is that the heart, the self-love, you know? And I didn't mean to turn this into a judge, but the natural inclination is to try to help. And
yes.
if you're,
well, that's why your channel was so good.
Yeah, and if you are courageous, you will take the time. That's why meditation is so awesome. Fasting clears the glass, but meditation settles the mud so that you can at least get a moment to where you're like, okay, I need to fast. I need to cleanse. And I need to allow these feelings to come up and face them. If I've told you how much cortisol, sleepless nights, and stress I've had to go through as I excavate this debris out of my heart and accept it for what it is, you'd think I need, but that's why is everyone on drugs? Why is everyone on pharmaceutical drugs? Because what we're talking about here today is denied by the doctors. And all of these diseases are the manifestation of unresolved inner energy conflicts.
Yeah.
The pressure cooker of unresolved emotions. Then what is it? Do you hit your wife? Do you kick the dog? Are you just walking around enraged, or is it sadness, or all the range? There's a range of like abject apathy and hopelessness, and then, guilt and shame, and then, fear, and then at least out of fear, then you kind of get up to anger, like, I'm gonna get pissed off enough to do something about this. I'm gonna change my diet, and then you can get to courage, and then you start to make some changes, because courage is power. Fear takes away your power. The cortisol takes away your power. But the courage, like, okay, I'm afraid, but that's okay. I am going to just do my best to face these fears, to feel them, to look at them, to accept them. And if we can begin the process of accepting some of those lower energy fields within us, I guess it's called shadow work, you'll find out, oh, it's in all of us. But on the internet, it's like a spoonful of sugar makes that medicine go down. And then everyone's like, why do I feel like such a lowly piece of shit, when all these people are so beautiful and wonderful and they've got so many followers and I'm a loser, And that's what social media is doing to us, because everyone puts their best foot forward and everyone is perfect, and then there's you. You're either fat or too skinny, or you have acne, or your hair's not right, or you're losing your hair, you have yellow crooked teeth, or, whatever it is, and then that really has an effect on us. And on one hand, it's detrimental, but on another hand, it forces you to be stronger if you take it in the right way and embrace and accept yourself for who you are. So I think that what we're talking about today can be beneficial to you if you become just a little bit more willingness is all it takes. And then that starts a process that can probably last a lifetime, but there is, I think, a final. This book said to me, fast and pray until the Lord of the house returns. Fast and pray until the pure spirit finds its place in the temple. Your body is a temple of the spirit. And if we purify the temple through fasting and living foods, and we purify the spirit, which fasting is the only thing I've really ever found to burn up karma aside from selfless service. But nothing does the burning of the spiritual karma like fasting. That's why fasting is the most amazing thing that I know about in this world. And the cool thing is it's free. Well, 2.5 cents a day distilled water. And it happens automatically the minute you stop eating, 18 hours later. Then there's the 72-hour break where it actually starts going into this process of autophagy. And then the 7th day is sanctified and you have your first breakthrough. And I just went through that on a mountainside, by myself, naked on a mountain, sleeping on the ground, with nothing, no phone. I had a book and I had a notepad. And I became a very proficient writer. And I slept great and I breathed fresh air. And then I came back to society and I went back to some of my old habits. And I'm like, okay, I got to get this. But the fasting, the meditation, all these tools are, and the question is, my brother, is in all of us, like, what do we want out of this life? And do we want to see our potential arise? As we clean out the physical organism, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body, then the physical organism is a manifestation of the blueprint within us. And so we're working on cleansing our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies through these various processes that are termed spiritual. And then the body in the 3D is simply the manifestation of that energetic blueprint within us. And the external world starts to become a manifestation of our internal world. So purification and regeneration is a real thing. I'm not the greatest example of it, but I'm the poster child for persistence. 23 years ago, I read this and I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I have been very close a couple of times, only to snap back because of the inability to understand what was going on and the recoiling from that which I am terrified of, which is to actually look at myself and feel myself and what's really in there. And like I said, I'm the Buddha under the Bodhi tree right now. It's either make it or die. If I died...
It's going to be your last interview.
Well, I have one tomorrow too.
Oh.
But anyways, no, this was cool, man. And I dig where you're coming from.
No.
And you are a healthy and beautiful man. That's obvious. You have a great brain and a great heart. And let me encourage you to reach your potential. Because that's obvious.
I'd like to do it with potatoes still involved.
I understand, but that can be, if you want to give those things up to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to, because it's kind of like a weed head giving up weed. It can take decades because he's afraid to give up the weed. And the potatoes are an amazing thing, for sleepless nights and insomnia. But at some point, what I'm saying is you want to get to the root cause.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because potatoes are awesome. All of it is awesome. You'd be surprised. Like, I say things like, hey, if you want a steak, come to my house and I'll make it for you. That's the kind of dude I am. That freaks people out, and they say, how could you dare? You're the problem of the planet, and it's everything that is wrong with the planet is because people eat animals. It's like, well, I mean, everyone has their little pinprick of an agenda, and I'm just saying there is something so much more vast than all these concepts. And if we can obliterate the concepts and open up to the flow of the divine energy and have the courage to face what comes through that, we will be purified. And then we can let everyone off the hook for the way that they modulate their lives with potatoes or with meat. Because food is a stimulant and a modulator. But our life energy comes from the light of God. And that's why when people talk about breatharians and stuff, they are out there. Most of them are frauds. But I was on the mountainside and living in the sunlight, drinking out of the stream. And I'm like, okay, I see the possibility for this. But you'd have to be living in a pristine place on this mountain in Washington State where there's no chemtrails, no Wi-Fi, no people barking down your throat. And you're just totally at peace. And there's no obstructions in the energy field. Then the energy was just flowing through me. And I'm out there hiking miles and miles up these hills, and deer are walking right up to me and stuff, you know. And then I was like, okay, then you come back to society and the whole thing is just nuts.
Yeah.
So there is a lot going on. We all have that infinite potential. I think we want to be free, and I think we want to radiate light in our society and for our community and for ourselves. We want to feel joy and light and life flowing through us. That's my encouragement for everyone. I'm just getting started. I finally am realizing what I've been doing wrong. And so I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to nail this thing, man. And I'll never give up. That's the only skill I've ever had, is persistence. And I have made more mistakes than anyone. But that makes you smart. And that gives you understanding and compassion. So it's been a pleasure being with you.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thank you for coming on here. It has definitely been interesting. I'm probably not going to edit any of this. I'll just put it up there. Let people do what they want
DTM
with it.
style. Yeah, and let them bring it. I hope you got something out of it. If we would have sort of started on that vein, it might have went a totally different way. I help people every day, and it's very rarely has anything to do with food. Food is never the underlying issue. Food is always a symptom of other underlying issues that are difficult, challenging to have the courage to face, but we've got to encourage one another to do that real inner work. And that's what I'm doing on this video. So thanks, bro, and thanks everyone for watching this. What's your channel so that they know here?
Oh, High Carb Regenerator.
High Carb Regenerator.
Just down below.
I'll put it down below because I'll post this video on my YouTube.
Okay.
And then I'll put your channel link down below, and then you can get some traffic out of this.
Oh yeah, and I'll put everything in your in the description section too. You have what? You started another YouTube, and then you've got what's the other thing?
I have the Elite Video Club.
No, the Elite Video, but then there's another. I post on it too, and I can't even think of the name of it.
The Facebook?
No, it's another YouTube type thing.
Oh, Rumble.
Rumble, yeah.
Yeah.
Rumble. Everything that I do goes straight there, but I never check it because it's so hard to get traction. It seems on Rumble, but
yeah, it's slow, but it's gonna take off.
Yeah.
But YouTube is cool. It sucks, but it's still cool. Like, it's the place where we're all used to it. Yeah. I started with 1,000 subscribers. I'm almost up to 10,000 now, so I'm starting all the way over.
Oh, wow.
I can understand. Like, this guy's a nut job, but it's like, I'm really going for it. The diet thing, I got that down pretty damn good, and it's just other stuff that needs to get handled. So if you want to send me this video, would you rather do that, or do you mind if I...
It doesn't matter. I can send it to you. You can pick which one you like the best.
Okay, well then you go ahead and send it to me. It wouldn't even go up for another week or two, but either which way, people like this stuff, and then we're collecting the Google AdSense. And so if you want to do it again, I'd really actually like to learn more about what you've been through and where you're coming from. And I'm going to check your channel. I've seen it before, but there's so many, I haven't got to
There's
know
so
you.
many, yeah.
But I'm going to go and check out and see what you're up to, bro.
All right, perfect. All right, thanks for this. And then, everybody check out Dan the Man. What is it? It's just Dan McDonald, right?
Dan McDonald now. YouTube. I'm still the Life Regenerator. I've accepted it because what we talked about today was life regeneration.
Yeah.
And you're a regenerator too. And so that says a lot about you. That says a lot about what we talked about today, because regeneration is of the highest order of your potential. Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual regeneration. And I hope that you are imbued with some of that energy today, bro.
Perfect. I mean, your energy seems different at the end of this too, so I think it went well.
Yeah, well, I had a rough ass morning, bro. And now I'm going to take a walk, and it was great. When I get to help someone, I channel more of the good stuff. So it's been a real honor, and I enjoy exchanging energy. So we're 2 hours in, and I think that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, 2 hours. Okay, yeah, I got to get going anyway. But thanks for this, and
me too.
We'll probably talk again.
I got an airport. So God bless you, bro. Get a hold of me. Stay in touch with me, man, okay?
Will do. All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.
All right, cool, bro. And I'm gonna just go. There we go. Awesome. So thanks everyone. That was whatever. It's just real stuff. I don't have a little MO. I don't have an agenda. I'm just me. I'm not even me, really. I'm just it. So can you dig it? Leave it a thumbs up and go check out the High Carb Regenerator on YouTube. Thanks a lot, everyone. Peace.